and welcome to another episode of the Lipstick Leadership Legacy Podcast with JaneTaff the Sage and Deanna Vestal, your career catalyst. This week, we are discussing some thoughts we have on the value of adult girlfriends. It's not just happy hour and fun, it's having a shoulder to cry on too. Let's join the conversation. Because I've always had a best friend in my life, or a group of friends that are kind of my ride or die. And to you, this version of friendship is very different and new. And we could say that. You know, I think that's an important, different perspective.
Interesting, because I would have said, oh, of course I have a solid group of friends. It just would have meant something different. Mm-hmm. And so that really pulls my own friendship card, because I was not the one who tells about my weekend, unless it was all just, very high level. Oh, it was great. We went wine tasting. I spent some time with the kids. Mm-hmm. I would never share even if I was under the weather. I would not say I was feeling under the weather. I would never say I had an argument, or you know how it can be, girl. I felt tight on money this month, or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I did not seek friendship that had a lot of that.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because I think that's self-preservation. I think it might go too far to say that's a trauma response. I think that is a habit to not let someone in too deep. When you hold people at a distance, they don't need to know you, and you don't need to be vulnerable.
But we can have a solid good time. We can laugh, dance, play. I definitely know where the party's at. I certainly know we can catch a quick 3-day, like a ship ride, a weekend party on a ship, or yeah. I know where all the fun times are. I know where the live music is. I know where the wine tasting is.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the point is that this is 2021 and we are hosting this conversation now. Mm-hmm. So I would want to focus more, maybe give some attention to the past in terms of the path to 2021, and then really focus on how important identifying what friendship means to you is.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. Like, to me in 2021, having a chance to experience how easy, how genuine friendship can be.
Well, what's interesting is what's interesting is you're saying 2021. The main reason why that's interesting is because 2020 happened. What happened? You couldn't go wine tasting. You couldn't go on a 3-day vacation. You couldn't do all those things. So who are your friends then?
Well, real talk. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
The reality is, if we're going to, that's good. And maybe we could go there with it. Yeah. But God, because, in terms of my own path, I started needing a real friend, or a therapist, or medical professional help, something. And, so anyways, if you're really gonna, 2020, but I don't think that's, I like where you're going, what you had said, then 2020, the COVID pandemic really snatched the physical interaction away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hate to say it this way, but fun time friends fell away. You either had real friends or you had no friends, because
and there it is.
Yeah. And it, just like before 2020 happened, the way you figured out who your real friends were was get into crisis, see what happens. right? And as adults, I don't know that we tell ourselves, oh, all I want are real friends around me, until you find yourself being in a crisis and looking around and there's nobody there. Because you can't go to a friend in crisis and be like, hey, you want to go on a 3-day weekend? I know you're all worried about your health and all, but you know, that may be appropriate.
And that's exactly what happened.
You know, that may be appropriate, but it's usually not appropriate. It's like,
yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I think too, I'll make sure, because I don't want anybody feeling like, oh, well, who do you think you are? The only real friend on the planet. No, no, no. But life is too short, especially at our age, and I hate to put it that way, for fake ass friends. You know, people who are making me spend money on something that they don't care enough about me for me to spend 3 days, or hell, 3 hours. I can't stand a fake person. I can't, you know. I'm not, and this is the weird thing about me. I can hardly be around people who I know are just hanging around me for a good time and are not invested in me as a person. Like let me put it this way. I'm a distraction. And excuse me, I don't need to be your distraction. You know, deal with your life. If you need to run away from your life, I'm not that girl. You know?
Oh, come on. So that is very well said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, the reason why I feel strongly about that is because I feel we're grown. If you're running from your problems, you really have issues. And I'm not going to be that next person who's playing around with you and acting like you don't need to deal with your very real, very grown up problems. Right? And I'm not going to give somebody permission to be a fool when I could, you know, help you get whole. But you need to be willing to do that. And if you're not willing to, I'm not the girl for you, you know.
Ooh, that's very well said.
I mean, and I love all my girlfriends. We be acting crazy, but
no, really, and especially because I know you, I think I really see the value of what you're saying, because there's a lot of steps before it gets to that. I mean, you are very interested in what's really going on.
Yeah.
The next step is that you want to dive in and find out more. How did it get to this point? Then what happened? Then what? Yeah. And you're like, okay, and before you even give advice, you're like, so what are you going to do about it? You know? And then you will also step in with some advice and patience, with a whole bunch of courage. And yet, make no mistake, I also know that you're not messing around. Like, your bottom line is such, although it had always been unspoken until this moment, it just seems so deep with meaning. Yeah. Because I know the layers.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I guess too, I was not built for casual friendships, just like I'm not built for casual love relationships either. I never dated anybody I didn't think I was going to marry. You know, bottom line for me, people are not toys.
Yes.
And I take people very seriously. It goes with my foundational thing about relationships. You know, my foundational value of relationships. People aren't toys in any concept of the word. Right? Whether it be friendships or love relationships, I don't do casual. And if you are, you're going to stay way on the periphery of my life. You know?
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
That's good too. And you have a whole bunch of friends.
I do. And it was so good yesterday. I was thinking about this again yesterday because I checked in with one of my, serious ride or die girlfriends. We've known each other over 20 years. And she is, we are all the way down for each other. Like, let me get my act together. Who we gonna kill tonight?
Yeah.
Or how many bottles do we need? Just to get
okay.
the conversation.
We'll keep at it until we figure it out. That's right.
Yeah. But so that's I think I've always needed someone, and maybe we could explore this, but I think it's probably because I don't have sisters. I don't have that built-in person in my life who I believe is my ride or die. You're not going nowhere for nothing because we were born to the same people, and we could fight, we could, make up, and it'll all be good. I never had that. So for me, when I make friendships, they are as close to me as they could be without being blood relatives. That level of dedication I have to them.
I can totally see that as
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And when you have these very, very long-term relationships, I'm sure they go through ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had sister type arguments with some of your friends?
Yep. There's always at least one.
Well, and so there's something that you said to me that was a mind blower in relationships, and that is, that some relationships are unconditional, and that's the kind of friendships you like to build. That are unconditional friendships, meaning you're not going to draw the line and, quote, break up with a friend for behavior or attitude type purposes. How do you know? How do you know that you're not gonna, if what you're saying about the kind of friendships that are important to you, and also the standard or criteria for really solid relationships, how do you then say that the relationship is unconditional?
I gauge it from what I'm giving to the relationship. If I am being conditional, you're not the girl for me. I know from my own, my own willingness or lack of willingness to give to the friendship. There's something in there that I'm not recognizing in, in my prefrontal cortex. That's all the way in my subconscious. That's going, nope, I say, or I want to be your friend, but my whole being is saying no. There's a resistance in myself, that I have a judgmental resistance. I have I'm not going to tell you all my deep, dark type resistance. I know what that feels like inside when I'm half-hearted in the relationship. I don't care if I talk to you, you tell me something, I feel nothing about it. Those are clues that I have within myself as gauges. And, everybody has a version of that. Everybody has a version of that. When you care for someone, so for me, it starts with what is my standard going into it. Right. I got some crazy girlfriends who will turn off the average person. and I love those crazy girls.
Yes.
My girlfriend, my girlfriend that I talked to yesterday, she's like, it's almost like the crazier the better for you, and I'm like, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is. I attract them and then I hold on real tight.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that.
But the thing about that is, if I had turmoil myself or some inner crazy, would I have any margin for that? Absolutely not. Right? I would need the opposite of me. Right? And that's what I have. I have a very calm, stable, emotional life. And so I could weather a bunch of crazy and drama and shifting, behaviors, because I'm like, okay, well, I see that, and I'm going to make sure I'm here, make sure you got one stable person in your life, and I get to play that role.
Yes, and that is the treasure account. And you really do. So on one hand, you're saying as long as the crazy is situational or whatnot, and it does not then become toxic in the relationship,
right,
then you can still experience the harmony of the bond and the bond.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, as long
For
as
me,
the
as I'm beginning to...
Yeah, you're right. As long as it's not pointed to me or they don't make me part of their drama, I'm good. Because there are really people who are hurt.
A thin line. Yes, go on.
Yeah. There are really people who are hurt so much that they hurt the ones who are trying to help them. And I can only hang as long as possible, with someone who's determined to hurt other people, right? They're so hurt that they just lash out at everyone trying to harm them. And I've had those friendships too that have unfortunately ended. I've had tragic, I think I mentioned one to you that tragically ended, so tragically that their whole family was in the news. And you can't save, help, love everyone, because I can't love you more than you love you. And that's hard. That's hard for me, because I'm kind of my dad always told me I wore my heart on my sleeve. That is absolutely true. And it breaks my heart when you can't love you as much as I want to love you, because I've seen it. That's painful in a friendship for anyone. And I don't mean just me. I know other people who have loved on other people who could not love themselves and destroyed themselves and the people who love them.
Absolutely. Well, I think there is a misnomer. There's a thin line, and it's something worth talking about, where people have situational drama that could go into a lifestyle of drama. There's always something going on, right?
Yeah.
And people who actually bring that to their relationships, there's a certain level of toxicity where it's like, well, now we have to talk about what's going on with me again because of my drama, and I need to pull you into it, and don't you care about it, and et cetera, et cetera. And then there are and those relationships, like you said, they are toxic.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that you can experience the harmony of the relationship no matter what's going on in someone else's life. When can you be a little more specific about how you know the difference and draw the line, and why, because your heart is so big in that regard?
Yeah, as you were describing that, I'm thinking boundaries. Like if I have nothing to do with your drama and you're roping me in as if I do, bad boundaries for you, I need to strengthen my boundaries. And maybe I'll say something like, now, girl, that's not me, right? When someone starts saying, everybody in my life disappoints me, you disappoint me. And I'd say, hold on, that's not me. I've been here for you. You actually know that, right? And that's reestablishing a boundary. Disconnecting from that vague generality of hurt people or people who are hurting you. Or no one's ever here for me. Okay, I'm here for you. What do you need from me? What could I do for you? Right?
Yeah.
It's establishing boundaries, establishing lines of help, um, that kind of thing. Because I think what most people do instead of having good boundaries is now their friend in crisis triggers crisis in them, and you can't be that person. You know, it's like you can't all be in crisis, right? Like my husband and I said, one can only be crazy. We can only be crazy one at a time. One at a time. We got to take turns. It's not your turn, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
really try to have that with my friends where there is reciprocity. And I'm not talking about keeping score because that's horrendous. You know, you don't want to keep score. But at some point, I show my vulnerability because that is actually a choice to bond the friendship more. Because sometimes when someone is in constant crisis, they feel like they are a suck on you. They are an emotional drain on you. And that's not actually true. So when I have a place where I can say, you know what, girl, I need your support in this. I'm really struggling with this. I authentically ask for it so that they can feel like a help too, that it's not just one way, because that's not how I see it. And so I'm willing to risk in order to draw someone close and stay in practice of staying vulnerable. That's the thing. We all love to help people who are vulnerable. We want to protect. We want to surround with love and affection. That's how women are. But if she is acting like, or the friend is acting like, I'm always here to save you, that doesn't feel good, because now you are, what do they call that? Infantilized. You are made to feel like a child. And we cannot do that in adult friendships. We must both stay adults in the friendship for it to work, you know. And that's what I don't know. I don't know how I figured this out. Maybe through failed friendships, failed attempts, where I have maybe been too much the mother in the friendship, or too much the daughter in the friendship, or the little girl in the friendship, and it just simply didn't work. And so in my friendships that I very thoughtfully seek out and cultivate, I really work hard at staying adults, both of us, the whole time, and encouraging that behavior.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and it sounds like through the boundaries, both in this way that you're explaining now, but also in the solid relationships that you have at home and in your friendships, that are able to kind of put the stake in the ground around what being adult is, or what being bold and authentic or vulnerable, as well as infantizing, or, you know, putting roles, or feeling that you're stuck in a role.
Yeah.
You have a lot of experience around that, on both positive and in ways that might end relationships.
Yeah.
I love how friendship has helped me to rediscover a lost part of myself. And as an adult, experiencing self-discovery in relationship, it's very healing. There is a precious opportunity to expose self-doubt, or what I've come to call the imposter syndrome. That helps make doubt go away and eradicates, like, what imposter syndrome? It's not that it's not there, it just has no value, has no strength. because I can say it out loud to a trusted girlfriend like you, girl. And that's what friendship, that's what adult girlfriend friendships mean to me, is when there can be a bond beyond the laughter, where some of the insecurities can come out, and where we can talk about things that matter to us without feeling a sense of, I shouldn't say, now I'm going into past relationships, without feeling a sense of betrayal, without feeling a sense of, oh God, worrying who all is going to find out in our circle that I have a doubt, or, and things like that, which make me think more about some relationships that haven't worked.
Yeah.
And the reason why that might be important for tonight's conversation is that it makes us guarded.
Yeah, and suspicion that someone is not 100% trustworthy ruins any prospect of true relationship. Any hint of distrust, inauthenticity, deception of any kind is really just a friendship killer, any relationship killer. And I personally work very, very hard to take that away, because I don't like it. I try to function under something very simple. If I don't want it toward me, I'm not going to give it to someone else. It's that platinum rule of treat others the way they want to be treated, along with, treat others the way you expect to be treated too. It's like the ultimate rule, right? Because too many people want something from other people but aren't willing to give it. And too many people are giving to other people without realizing they can also ask for that same level of value. And like I said, I don't, when I say reciprocity, I don't mean keeping score, right? I mean giving and taking fluidly in the friendship, because that is what is required in the moment, right? And you read that moment to moment.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you and I, we've had friendships where we've given and taken multiple times in any one conversation, right?
Absolutely. And that does come with a safety net. There is a level of safety to just be completely 100% myself, and to enjoy you being yourself. Yeah. And, like you say, without keeping score, being able to table some discomfort, or something that maybe I disagree with, or that you do, and go ahead and talk about that later.
Yeah.
In a way that, again, provides safety, because we both deserve to, that's real friendship, when we both agree that, what, if you're not comfortable, I want to know, and I want to know if it was me. Yeah. And vice versa. If I'm not comfortable, I want to tell you before I tell someone else, unless I feel that someone else's actually wise counsel is going to give me your love language or your appreciation language, and say, well, when you go to talk to Jane about this, here's an approach I found that works really well.
Right.
That is part of what we can really value in adult friendships that is different than high school. Right? We did not really get the choice in our young adult life to set boundaries. We could say, it should have been this way, and you need to treat me like that. And it's all about the other person and you being a victim in those relationships.
Yeah.
At least for me, as a young person.
No, and we don't have the language. Yeah, we didn't have the language and the emotional information yet. Think about how volatile emotionally we were in high school and early college years. Up to like 25, you're emotionally volatile. You don't know yourself. You don't know who you are. You're trying on different versions of yourself. You have friends of, you know, the full spectrum of people. You got the rebels, the goody goodies, and everybody in between, right? The good time friends, your serious friends, your talk on the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning friends, and you never see them in the daylight. I mean, you know, those versions. And you don't even understand what you're trying to accomplish with all of this. When truly, I believe what you're trying to accomplish during those years, at least I was trying to figure out my preferences. What do I prefer with all these people I'm trying on or auditioning as friends? Right?
Well said.
Because some of my, I think what was interesting was when I would try on my, you know, go out to the club friends and they happen to be my talk late at night because I have a problem friends, and there was crossover, I was like, ooh, that must be something I really need. Fun and serious, right? And you start whittling those cross sections down. And you're like, okay, now I can be with you in all areas of my life. You must really be a good friend. I think that's all we do is try people, you know, audition them until they get to enough cross sections in our lives where we go, you know what? You're my all the time friend. I mean, what do you think of that, Deanna? Does that sound crazy or what?
I love how that sounds. It's my kind of crazy, okay? And again, it allows for experiences to take place and the dance of relationship to remove those obstacles, you know, that could hinder us in communicating or in making solid decisions about what we adore in our relationships. And I like, and I stand for relationships I adore. I really do value the tough times, the sometimes even the ugly. If I know and when I know for sure that both of us believe in our bond and want to come out stronger and want to make it forever.
Yeah. And that we have the best in mind for each other.
And that we have the best in mind for each other. And I do enjoy that with some of my sisters and some of the other family members that I have strong relationships with. So there is there's a example there. And when I get to have that within my friendships, that's solid gold.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and
let me ask you this. Do you have best friends?
I have a few that I consider I have one girlfriend who's like my absolute ride or die. She is an amazing human being, and you know, she checks all the intersections, if you will, in my life. We could have fun, we could be serious, we could be prayer partners, we could be, you know, crazy in the street. And we have families that are very, very similar and just really get one another. Like, it's almost like we don't always need to talk to communicate. And that's the kind of friendship I enjoy with who I consider my best friends. But I am really fortunate that, minus the label best friend, I have a group of friends that are as close to best friends as you could have, you know, because, you know, I would call everybody my best friend, but that would diminish the best friend status. So I have a super close group of friends, and most of them don't know each other. You know, they're not one group. They are individuals who I consider my really ride or die friends.
Isn't that something, how, you know, there comes a time when we only have ride or die friends or acquaintances. Like there's no like, you know, what's the point of keeping folks around just because if they're not real friends?
Oh, we're too busy for that. I mean, are you kidding me? We're adults, right? We I don't have infinite numbers of hours to invest in frivolous activities with everybody. Nobody does. And I think that's what's so interesting about the investment in friendships as you get older, that because you have very limited time you can invest in that friendship, you want them to be super good. You don't have time to cultivate a relationship with a knucklehead, right? Why would you do that? There's too many things going on in life. Or somebody who brings you grief and drama and trauma. I don't have time for that. I could find that, like my kids will bring me problems and issues. I don't need it coming from the outside affecting me in that way. And I think most of us adults feel that, whether you have children or not, you have enough. Like, if you don't have trauma in your personal life, you may have a very difficult work situation where your energy, right? We're managing our energy all the time. Your energy needs to have some reserves for that, because that's important to you. You don't have time for some friend to call you at work bringing all their crazy to you. You want them to enhance your life when they're in it, not make it harder, emotionally more difficult. So yeah, I have standards.
Good point.
We should all have
and
standards.
I think that you should do. We should all have, well, we do, I think, all have standards. And this pandemic, though, has really made a lot of meaningful experiences become cliche, like friendships. And with friendships and the pandemic, if you're like the two of us, or like, I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah.
The deeper meaning of what is needed in adult relationships among women was harder to articulate, because number one, I want to take responsibility for what I need, but what if I don't know what I need? Or I want to be what we used to call balls out. I live my life freely and I'm just me. And then all of a sudden I realize I'm not actually. I'm hiding, and I am concerned for my own self and don't want to tell anyone. But when I look to my friends, people I consider my friends, to share, I don't trust it. Or maybe I don't trust myself. All of these questions and concerns, they really change the meaning, deepen the meaning of friendship, because once again, it starts at home. It starts with me. And so I really appreciate this week's topic, because wanting to experience relationship harmony with women is a journey for some of us. Some of us like me. And I want the people who listen to us and who think highly of what we're doing and want, and are like us, to also feel safe saying, everything I want is not easily obtained. Some of the things that I want actually come with loss, strife, and other not so positive things. And for those of us who live a mindful life, we do come with this expectation that things should be positive. Well, guess what? That is what we don't want, is how we discover what we do want, and how we make decisions on what to focus on. And so that makes me want to ask you some more questions about friendship.
Well, before you go into that, you made me really think of something, because I think there are certain labels, expectations that some women have. And I'm going to say, if you have a belief of the strong woman moniker, you may not know how to do friendships real well. Because strong woman by definition means by myself. Right? I'm not asking for help. And friendship is by definition a coexistence of sorts, not a codependence, but a coexistence. And if you are saying I'm strong, then that means I don't need anybody, and you probably won't do friendships very well because you're not willing to give of yourself. You're willing to hear the other person's tale of woe, but you're not willing to be vulnerable. The other thing is this whole positivity movement. Now, I love being positive, but there is a time and a place for positivity, and it's not always in true friendship, because I need to know that you are okay with the deep, dark version of me that even scares me. And yes, you're willing to travel that deep, dark version of me until the happy, happy version comes back out, right? Because it is in my deep dark that I need a friend to hang on to the most. And if I'm constantly under the pressure or belief of needing to be positive, I also am not doing friendship very well, because there's a lot of pressure for me to perform as a positive person for another person. And I don't give you the full experience, which is sad, because I think I want somebody to know all 50 shades of my version. And that in my mind is a fuller, truer Jane than the always happy, the always positive version, right? Because that's a very small grouping of behaviors that Jane is capable of, right? And I want my friends to be okay with all of the versions, because now I know you can handle it, right? Because the other thing with strong women is if you're deemed too much by somebody, they probably can't be your friend because they can't handle that other shade of you, right? So, if you get that, girl, you're too much. Look, too much for who? So it's important that we pay attention in our interactions with our friends and put them in the right category. Not everybody can go in real deep, abiding, intimate friendships. I understand that. Even though that is my deepest desire, I understand that, and I will become friends with someone as deep as they'll let me, and then no further for some. That's just being real. And not pushing someone beyond their comfort level, because they may have issues they're dealing with, or my vulnerability or my safety for them has allowed them to be there, but their trauma has created an environment where they can't go further. And I understand that. I'm not going to push somebody beyond, because that's also not respectful. Right? That's not respecting my new friend or my newer friend at where they are. That's a form of non-acceptance, which is not cool to me either. Right? It's tricky. It's more, the more and more you and I talk about it, Deanna, the harder it seems. But the first step is really allowing it to happen first and see what happens. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, are closed off to this thing called friendship because of fear and past experience.
Well, you are hitting all the nails on the head, right? So the one thing is, the more we talk about it, the deeper the conversation goes. And so it is harder to explain.
Yeah.
However, I am hearing a real, like a brick by brick build up for what friendship is and why it's meaningful.
Yeah.
And you just now were going into this level of expectation, and the reason why it's good to start from the beginning. Go ahead and try it. Be an adult who knows you value friendship and what that means to you.
Yeah.
And then try it, because women will come into your life and you will get the opportunity to try. And in the last, since March of 2020. I think that was 2020, right? Yeah. When the pandemic really started and everyone was sent home and relationships changed, all kinds of relationships changed. I started to really see a pattern of expectation. And it seemed like you were just now tapping into this thing, where there's a thin line between knowing what you want and then expecting someone to fill all the gaps. You know, like that's just going one step or three too far.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about
Well, let's compare it to a love relationship, right? Many people I know who are in fabulous relationships sometimes make the comment that, oh, my husband or my significant other is also my best friend. And my response to that is always, wow, that's a lot of pressure. And I usually get people going, what? He's supposed to be your best friend. I go, supposed to? That's a lot of expectation, considering I actually want him to be a fabulous, spouse, provider, father, love of my life, gardener, mechanic. I mean, come on, girl. We got all kind of expectations from our partners. To be my best friend, that's a whole nother ball of wax called emotions. And that means, you're going to be fun and tell all your secrets and bounce off every idea and talk about business. And that's too much for any one person. And I long ago, because I am married to my polar opposite, my personality opposite, where I am very extroverted, he is very introverted, where I love to talk, he likes to think, right? And so I have to talk through a lot of my ideas. Well, he can only hear so many words before he starts shutting down. I know many of you have this too, so don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. So I had to surround myself with, I'm just being real. I had to surround myself with like-minded individuals who understood what my mind was rattling around and having to work out. And they didn't have to be my husband. That I really believe, really believe every couple needs friends who they can talk to deeply without violating intimacy or relationship boundaries, right? And this is the other reason why I believe in having deep friendships with, for me, same-sex friends, right? So I talk to girlfriends about very, very important things, especially when it comes to my relationship with my husband. If I need to work through an idea, concept, problem, it's going to be with a girlfriend, not a guy friend. Because I have guy friends too that are very, very strong. But if it's going to be about my relationship, I am not going to violate my primary relationship by talking to the opposite sex about that. That's my personal standard that's kept me safe, right? Because there is a certain level of transference that happens, and this is a topic for another day, that will emotionally violate your relationship if you have it with the opposite sex oftentimes, because it's emotional, right? So absolutely. I like to have those types of relationships. So what we're talking about though was the need to know boundaries of how much can somebody handle of you, right? You honestly may be a person who is absolutely too much for any one person. You might be. Let's just be real and honest and, own it. So you have to have a few friends. Can you think of one? I have a friend that Deanna, who needs multiple friends for who they are. And it is 100% okay to have many different friends for many different things you do in life, and for me, that's okay too. So Yeah, I mean, but the number one thing is I do not believe my spouse has to be my very best friend. He's one of my first confidants, but not my best friend. I'm a little bit different, and I don't think anybody's wrong for having their spouse as their best friend. Just for me, I know it doesn't always work in all the different things I have going on that are so different from him.
Well, this is one of the reasons that we created or crafted the show, this one episode, to be about girlfriends.
Yeah.
Because the elements, the dynamics, and the dichotomy, everything changes when we add different gender roles and different titles within the gender roles into the discussion of friendship.
Yeah.
And it's all valuable. And yes, there are all these intersections and crossovers. It's that when we're talking about, when you were saying the kind of conversations you will have with your girlfriends, I thought that was an important delineation about why you would not discuss problems within the relationship, your marriage anyway, with the opposite sex. And that does directly relate to why, again, our girlfriends are so important.
Yeah.
And why we take the time as adults to identify the meaning and to even bring this up as an episode section so that we can also differentiate, healthy boundaries, get down to the nitty gritty of what is not working for us and being able to, I think it's a million things. Again, like sometimes we need to draw the line and really actually break up with a friend or two.
Yeah.
Other times, and one of the great reasons for this episode is to just feel free and safe to say what you're free and safe and uncomfortable and what's crappy. Just get it out there, right? Just be okay with clarifying what is and is not working in your adult girlfriends.
Yeah.
And then the real treasure, the honor to be able to establish why it's important, this opportunity to experience girlfriends that are healthy, that are strong, why it brings so much meaning to our lives and even to give us more energy in business.
Yeah.
So what you got for that?
Well, I can say that I was one of those women who thought I would not have strong relationships with other women just because of my background, my history, and I thought it was easier to have male friends because they didn't require much, right? They didn't require me to be all the way 100% authentic. They didn't call me out on my BS. They were just good time friends. But the value I have found with having girlfriends is the best girlfriends will actually see you and see in you what you don't see yourself. Sometimes what you're not admitting to yourself, and sometimes that things that you don't value in yourself, they can speak that into you and, like a refreshing waterfall, wake you up to your value. That's what my girlfriends have done for me to remind me of my value when I have forgotten or can't even grasp it because I'm frustrated and angry at myself, or disappointed in some way. Some circumstance has gotten in the way of me recognizing my value. Or being that person who is okay to let you show the range of emotions, especially the sad ones where a good cry is really what you need in that moment. And she will just let you have it. No judgment, because she needs it too at some point, right? And it's that back and forth of, we know, because I know I need it, I'm going to give it to you when I recognize you need it. So there are so many things that are so unique to female friendships because we have access to so many more emotions that we can put on loan to someone. You know, we can see when they're hurting and not recognizing it, right? I mean, how many times have you heard from a good girlfriend, I know you said you're fine, but I feel like you're not fine. And then the tears come because you're trying to be fine. And that good girlfriend knows, no, girl, it's okay not to be fine right now. It's me. It's okay. And the safety of that, you know, the safety of knowing, okay, I don't need to be fine with you. You know, that fine, I'm good. I don't need to be that with you. Thank God I have at least, you know, one person who sees that, right? No matter how brave I'm trying to be right now, a good, insightful girlfriend who's truly, you know, one in your heart, she can see that. And she's not going to let you get away with that because she knows the more you do that, the harder it is for you to heal whatever is hurting you in the moment, or creating that defense mechanism, right? Which ultimately doesn't serve. So yeah, I've had girlfriends give me both. Show me my value and let me not be okay, right? Which are kind of my two big ones.
That is absolutely beautiful. I would say that that is the foundation that you could also be the guidepost for when the relationship might be struggling and you look back and think, if these two things were always present, then maybe, you know, there's hope, there's room for grace and a break or an opportunity to carry on. I really appreciate you sharing that for sure.
Yeah.
And for those of us who are strong women and who are still at the very, very beginning of identifying what friendship looks like, starting from within, and that journey can impact and affect every area of your life. Your relationship with your lover, your children, your work performance. Because again, it comes down to, it's very volatile. It's about me. Or it's about you in this case, you know, listeners. And I'm you all the time, but now I'm me. And so where I'm going with this though, Jane, is to say about the value of learning communication skills with ourselves from a point of personality, a point of discovery, understanding what crucial conversations are, understanding that with the right mindset, you can have, we're never too old to go for it when it comes to strong relationships. You want a strong relationship? Here we are living proof.
Yeah.
You can design that. You can believe it's possible and start to craft that for yourself. And we can help.
Yeah.
We can help. We are here in business as individual businesses and in partnership, building this community from that level to assist in asking better questions to yourself so that you can get some psychological safety about being the kind of friend or reaching out to the kind of friends you desire and you deserve.
That is such a good summary, Deanna, because I could never, and this is the truth, I could never be the friend that I am at this point without my own personal discovery, my own self-discovery, my own personal development, my own understanding of my personality, because first I had to know me to be an advocate in a friendship. Right? Otherwise, I'm just doing whatever the other person wants to do in that friendship, and not all of it would be okay with me. But when I started knowing me really well, I started being a better friend because I was actually a contributor, not a dependent. You know, I wasn't dependent on my friendships to define me. I wasn't dependent on my friendships to affirm me. I could define me, I could affirm me, and now I have something to give. And so for those of our listeners who are finding value in this conversation, we definitely want to hear from you. What do your friendships look like? What do you struggle with in friendship? Because there's a lot of struggle in friendship. We're not, we're real people. And what do you find is the absolute gold in your friendships as adults? We want to hear all about that. Chime in on the comments or reach out to us and send us messages on our info email, and we'd love to hear from you, because this conversation is near and dear to both Deanna and myself, because we've built up a great friendship, and we encourage all of our listeners to build them first friendship with yourself. Always first a friendship with yourself, so that you'll have known value to yourself, and then you know what your worth is to give to other people. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you, everyone, for peeking into our conversation about adult girlfriends and friendships in general. This is JaneTaff the Sage.
And Deanna Vestal, your career catalyst.
We look forward to having more conversations on this, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks, everyone.